Today we're going to be solving equations with the variable on each side. It's basically like a multi-step equation, but we're going to have double variables, and we're going to have to be combining like terms. So there are two huge main important things that I really want you to think about when you're trying to solve these equations. The first one is I want you to move all variable terms to one side of the equation. I like to move it always over to the left side of the equation. That's just my specific way that I like to do it. And the next one is to move all of the constant terms to the other side of the equation. And with that, the other side of the equation that I like to move them to is the right side of the equation. By constant terms, I mean like if you just have a number that is not attached to a variable, so like the number 4 or the number -3. So let's look at this first equation. We have 2 plus 5x is equal to 3x minus 6. So remember what I told you to do. We want to move the variables to one side of the equation and the constants to the other side. The way that I like to do it, I like to move the variables, or the numbers with the variables. So if we have our 5x, we have a variable, and we have our 3x is the other variable, I like to move the variables all to the left side. So if I want to move this 3x over to the left side, remember this is a positive 3x. So what we would do, remember you always have to do the opposite. So if this is a positive 3x, we would have to subtract 3x. So we're moving this whole thing. We're not moving the 3, we're moving the whole 3x. So if we subtract 3x from the right side of the equation, we have to subtract 3x to the left side of the equation. So on the right side, we have the 3x and minus 3x. Those cancel out. And all that we have left on the right side of the equation, this is like a -6. Now let's look at the left side of the equation. So when we subtract 3x, we have to subtract it to the like terms. So this has a constant and a variable, and the variable is x, so we have to find the constant of 5 and the variable that goes along with it. So we subtract, if we have 5 x's and we subtract 3 x's, how many x's do we have left? We have 2 x's. So we have 2x, and then bring everything else down. So now we have 2 plus 2x is equal to -6. Now, remember the next step. The next step is to move all the constants to the right. So the constants that we have over on the left side of the equation is 2. This is a positive 2. So we can move this over to the right as by subtracting 2. And if we subtract 2 from the left side, have to subtract 2 from the right side. So the positive 2 and the negative 2 cancel out. Bring everything else down on the left side, so we still have our 2x. And then what is -6 minus 2? So -6 minus 2 is -8. Now, we have our one-step equation. 2x is equal to -8. So we know how to do that. Opposite of multiplication is division, so we are going to divide by 2 on both sides. These two cancel out. All that we have left is x. And on the right side of the equation, we have -8 divided by 2. Remember, a negative divided by a positive is always going to be negative. So -8 divided by 2 is equal to -4. And -4 is going to be our answer. Remember, you can always double check, but it's perfectly fine with me. Just take this -4, plug it into the equation wherever you see an x up at the top. So this -4 will go up in here, -4 will go up in here, and we would double check everything to make sure that the left side of the equation is equal to the right side of the equation. So x is equal to -4, so that is correct answer. So now what I want you to do, I want you to pause the video, try this example yourself, and unpause the video to see the way that I solved it. Alright, so like the previous one, we're wanting to move all of the variables over to the left side of the equation and all of the constants to the right side of the equation. So, first step, move the variables to the left side of the equation. So we have our 13y and we have our 4y. So I want to move this 4y over here to the left side. So, since this is a plus 4y, to move it over to the left side of the equation, I'm going to have to subtract 4y from both sides. On the right side, positive 4y and a negative 4y, those cancel out. So all that we have left on the right side of the equation is this 38. Now, we have 13y minus 4y, which is equal to 9y. Then bring everything else down, so we have 9y plus 2. Now, so we moved all the variables over to the left side. Now we're going to move all the constants over to the right side. So I have my 38 over here on the right, and now I have this plus 2 over here on the left. I need to move this plus 2 over to the right side of the equation. So the opposite of addition is subtraction. So we're going to subtract 2 from the left side. If we subtract 2 from the left side, have to subtract 2 from the right side. So this plus 2 and minus 2 on the left, they cancel. All that we have left on the left side is 9y. And on the right side we have 38 minus 2, which is 36. Now we have our one-step equation. 9y is equal to 36. So I just want this y by itself. So we are going to be doing, since there's 9 times y, we have to do the opposite, which is 9 divided by 9. If you do that to the left side of the equation, you have to divide by 9 on the right side of the equation. So these 9's cancel out, and all you're left with on the left side of the equation is y. Now on the right side of the equation, you have 36 divided by 9. And that is equal to 4. So our final answer is y is equal to 4. What I highly recommend doing is going back up to our initial equation, plug in for y is equal to 4, plug in that 4 into each of the y's, and solve for there. If they're both equal, then they're correct. So y is equal to 4. So when we look at this example, I understand that some of you all might get freaked out because we have some parentheses. But remember, every time you see the parentheses, and if there's a constant number that's attached to it, always remember your distributive property. Always remember that. So what I would do from here first, I would just completely rewrite this equation, but also use the distributive property for this. So I am actually going to rewrite this whole equation. So we don't really have to do anything over to the left, so I'll just rewrite it. 8x minus 10, and that's equal to whatever's on the right. So now, time for the distribution. So we just distribute this 3 times 6. So 3 times 6 is 18. Now we do 3 times think of this as 2x. Always just bring down the operation, which is the minus sign. So 3 times 2, which is 6. So on the right side of the equation is 18 minus 6x. Now, this is what we're used to seeing in the previous two equations. So we can go through, work it like normal, move all of the variables to the left side, constants to the right. So if we have a minus 6x on the right side, we have to do the opposite, which is where you add 6x to the right side, and then to the left side we're also going to have to add 6x. So on the right side, that the negative minus 6x and the positive 6x, those cancel out. And all that we have on the left side of the equation is 8x plus 6x. If you have 8 x's and you're adding 6 more x's onto it, you're going to have 14 x's. And bring everything else down, which is minus 10. And then just copy everything out that's left on the right side of the equation, which is 18. Now we have to move all the constants over to the right. So if we have this minus 10, the opposite of subtraction is addition. So we're going to add 10 to both sides. On the left side of the equation, the minus 10 and the plus 10, those cancel out. So all you have left on the left side of the equation is 14x, and then 18 plus 10 is 28. Now we have our one easy little operation that we're supposed to do. So we have 14 times x. Remember, the opposite of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide 14x by 14. If we do that to the left side of the equation, we have to divide the right side of the equation. So the 14's cancel out. All we have left is x, and 28 divided by 14 is 2. So our final answer, x is equal to 2. Now remember, if you want to double check, all you have to do, take this 2, plug it in to wherever you see an x on either equation, on either side of the equation. If they are equal, then it's the correct answer. In this case, x is equal to 2. Now I want you guys to try this yourself. Try it, work it out in your notes, pause the video, and unpause the video when you're ready to see the way that I solved it. Alright, so now we have 8 is equal to 4 in parentheses y plus 4, close the parentheses. Remember, I like to always ensure that if we have a constant, I like to move it over to the right side of the equation. So I'm just going to rewrite this real quick to make it 4, and in the parentheses, y plus 4 is equal to 8. This is the exact same equation. I switched it around. Now, we have our distributive property. So, we're going to do 4 times y, which is 4y. And then we do 4 times 4. Remember to bring this plus sign, bring it straight down. So we do 4 times 4, which is 16. And rewrite everything that's on the right side of the equation, which is 8. Now, it seems like we already have all of our variables over to the left side because we have our 4y here and we don't have anything off to the right. So all we're going to have to do is move this plus 16 over to the right side of the equation. So, the opposite of adding 16, you got to subtract 16 to both sides of the equation. So the plus 16 and the minus 16, those cancel out. All you have on the left side of the equation is our 4y, and 8 minus 16 is equal to negative 8. Now we have our one-step equation. We have 4y is equal to negative 8. Remember, the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide the left side equation by 4. If we do that to the left, have to divide to the right. So the 4's on the left, they cancel out. And all that we have left on the left side of the equation is our y. Now the right side of the equation, we have negative 8 divided by 4. Remember, negative divided by a positive is always, always, always going to be a negative. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. Our final answer is y is equal to negative 2. If you want to double check it, all that you would have to do is take wherever you see a y in the equation, take the negative 2, plug it right up there, and if the right side of the equation equals the left side of the equation, then the answer is correct. We can do this one really quickly. If we have negative 2 plus 4, that's equal to 2. So 2 times 4, that's equal to 8. So our answer is going to be y is equal to negative 2.